Because of why I search the deep through endless nights, no time to sleep. The call inside I can't deny. I'll find the light because of why.
Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping into a real geopolitical head-scratcher. How on earth did a Christian-majority nation tucked away in South America end up as a full member of the world's largest organization of Muslim countries? Let's unpack this fascinating story.
So just take a look at this. On the left, you've got Guyana, and on the right, all the member states of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, or OIC. I mean, geographically, it's a total outlier. It just doesn't seem to fit, right? So what's the deal?
This is the big question we're tackling today. How did this happen? And believe me, it's not a simple one-line answer. It's this incredible story that weaves together demographics, deep-seated history, and frankly, some really savvy foreign policy. To start cracking this case, we've got to look inside Guyana itself. You see, the first clue isn't on some big world map. It's right there in their own census data. So yeah, Guyana is a Christian-majority country, but just barely. About half the population is Christian. But here's the kicker. That 15% of the population that's Muslim, that is a really significant minority, actually a larger percentage than in a lot of European countries. And you know, this wasn't just a number on a spreadsheet. Guyana's Muslim community is highly organized. You've got groups like the Central Islamic Organization of Guyana, or CIOG, and they have been actively representing their community's interests for decades. And boom, there's our first major piece of the puzzle. It was this organized Muslim community that went straight to the Guyanese government and actively lobbied them to join the OIC. They saw a real chance to connect with the broader Muslim world. But look, a domestic push alone probably wouldn't have been enough. The thing is, Guyana's foreign policy was already kind of in sync with many of these OIC countries for a long, long time. You have to remember, way before Guyana was even independent, its leaders were right in the thick of the global anti-colonial struggle. We're talking about that huge movement of nations in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, all pushing back against European rule. So naturally, they built these strong bonds with countries like Egypt and Syria. And a huge piece of that solidarity, a real cornerstone, was a strong pro-Palestinian stance. I mean, just look at this history. Guyana has been consistently supporting the Palestinian cause for decades, which lines them up perfectly with a core defining issue for the OIC. This timeline really paints the picture, doesn't it? This wasn't some sudden decision. It's a clear path to membership that was built over decades of diplomatic alignment. But it wasn't just about ideology and history. There was also a powerful economic reason to join. Right. Let's talk about the money, because for a developing nation like Guyana, foreign policy isn't just about principles. It's also about prosperity and, well, survival. This gets into a concept called economic diplomacy. And it's a pretty simple idea, really. It's all about using your relationships with other countries to help build up your own economy. And for Guyana, the OIC looked like a massive opportunity. $10 billion. That was the size of a development fund that wealthy OIC members created specifically for poorer member states. By joining the OIC, Guyana suddenly had a chance to tap into this huge new source of aid and investment. And we're not talking about theoretical money here. These were concrete benefits. Membership gave them access to the Islamic Development Bank, which helped fund real-world projects in agriculture and education. And maybe most important of all, it gave Guyana direct ties to some of the wealthiest nations on the planet. A brilliant strategic move for a small state. Okay, so we've got the domestic push, the historical solidarity, and the economic incentives. That explains the why. So now let's look at the how. How did Guyana actually get in, and how does it participate as a member today? And this part is all about timing. See, when Guyana joined back in 1998, the OIC's rules were just a bit more flexible. The charter basically allowed countries with significant Muslim minorities to become full members. That rule was changed later on, but by then, Guyana was already in the door. And Guyana is not a silent member. They don't just sit in the back of the room. As this quote from a former ambassador shows, they actively participate.
especially on issues like Palestine, where their foreign policy has been rock solid for over 70 years. They use the OIC as another platform to advocate for causes they've long believed in. So to sum it all up, the answer is really twofold. The OIC is a diplomatic stage for Guyana to continue its historical foreign policy, but it's also a deeply pragmatic partnership. It's really a masterclass in how a small state can cleverly leverage its unique demographic and political history to punch way above its weight globally. And this leaves us with one last, really interesting question to chew on. In an era where Guyana is now becoming a major oil power, is this membership just a relic of a different time? Or is it still a savvy, under-the-radar diplomatic tool that gives this small South American nation a unique kind of influence on the world stage?
What do you think? We'd genuinely love to hear your thoughts on that. Drop a comment below and let us know. And of course, if you enjoyed this deep dive, please help us out by hitting that like button, sharing it with a friend, and subscribing for more.
Thanks again for joining us. We hope we've shed a little light on this geopolitical curiosity. We'll see you next time on The Explainer.